Okay, cool. So, welcome to another Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and Rise Presses. I'm here with you every week with my phenomenal editors, including one of our amazing editors, Amy Hardy, and one of our amazing editors and acquisition editors, Ben. So, with that, we want to welcome everybody. Please feel free to go ahead. The whole purpose of this is to answer whatever questions you may have. It can be around publishing, writing, the Game of Thrones. I'm probably not the person you want to ask that kind of question of because I rarely watch television. But yeah, just ask us whatever it is that you're interested in. And the way it works is I'll repeat the question, and then each of us takes turns in responding to whatever question it is. So with that, I just want to take a minute and just ask Amy and Ben, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing good over here. It's summer. The kids are out of school, so we've been doing all kind of summer activities. I have been writing a whole bunch, which is great, and I have another title that is going to be sent to production soon. So very excited about all the progress and all the summer fun that we're having.
Fabulous. How about you, Ben?
Just it's summer. I'm still in school because
Why
I
not?
just keep teaching. But no, it's good. It's a productive time going through novels and short stories and writing and doing the stuff I'm supposed to be doing.
Very, very cool. And I just started editing another novel, which I'm really excited about going through it and then meeting with the author regarding the feedback and so on. And my follow up novel to Cure is I think it's just about done. My editor and I just did some tweaking of the storyline, which I think people are going to find really, really, really interesting and have a lot of fun with. And then we're going to start launching into brainstorming. All right, so now, what does the next novel look like? So that should be a lot of fun. And guys, don't forget that we actually are going to have an anthology coming out that's in the world of Cure. So again, super excited about that. We've already started getting submissions for it, and it should be a whole lot of fun. The deadline for these short stories, and they can be as long as 15, as short as however you want, and as long as 15,000 words, which I fully acknowledge makes it more like a novelette, but hey, whatevsky. Uh, but definitely take this opportunity. It really should be a lot of fun. I honestly, I can't wait to see what people come up with. So I'm putting in the chat right now a link to the submission page so you can read up on it a little bit if you so choose. But it's really an exciting anthology. So, and then I'm actually going to be speaking at the California Crime Writers Conference. They have a portion of it called Consult Fest, and that is on Sunday is when I'll be there. Myself and actually Cody Cisco, one of our fantastic editors slash acquisition editors, he'll be there as well. And it should really be a good time. So if you are in California, in the Culver City area, don't forget to hit it up. I'm sure they would love to see you if you are not already signed up. I just put a link to the California Crime Writers Conference in the chat. I mean, definitely check it out. I really think it's going to be fun. They also have an auction to benefit various charities, and as a part of that auction, we've actually submitted four opportunities that you can submit up to 20 pages of whatever manuscript it is and I'll give you at least a 1-page feedback. So definitely take the opportunity, because I'll be the first to admit, sometimes I'm not the easiest person to get feedback from, just because there's so much going on. Unless it's something where it's like, obviously like, yes, you definitely need feedback. Or if I'm your editor, then clearly you're going to get feedback. So those are the big things coming up like now. And for those of you who are, if you're from the Pittsburgh area, or even if you're not, and you really love dark fiction and like horror, don't miss StokerCon. So StokerCon this year is happening again in Pittsburgh. It starts June 15th. I will be there. My flight lands on the 14th. I'll be there through the 19th. I would love to see you. I'd love to say hi and just hang out. We're really definitely going to have a blast. So I think those are all my spiels. With that, hey, Peter, how you doing?
Hello. I'm good. How's everybody else?
Awesome. What's new and exciting in your world?
I am 15 pages. I was hoping to finish Curtis's novel by right now, but I'm 15 pages down. My book's coming along. I am now getting up early to work on it. I'm working in the morning and at night, and I'm not a morning person. Yeah, things are going pretty well.
Excellent. Very cool. CJ Grant says, hey everyone, happy Thursday. Margaret Buchanan says, hi all. Margaret congratulates us on our Chicago Journal write-up. Thank you so much. It's always honestly mind-blowing when we get those write-ups. Jude Shell says, I'm in post on a series based on my books and want to smacked 1 episode VR. I'm sure I'm not reading this correctly. Is that hard to do since already shot in not in VR? Thoughts or suggestions? I'm in post on a series based on my books. I
want to make 1 episode in VR.
In virtual reality.
Yeah.
In all honesty, Jude, I have no idea. I post series on my want to make 1 episode. Oh, I see. I don't know anything. How about you guys? Do you have any insights into making an episode in virtual reality?
I have no idea, but it sounds interesting. If you can do it, do it. That's my stance. I think that's just one added layer of getting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, so it sort of depends on what we mean by making an episode in virtual reality, because if you mean that like all the characters are virtual representations of individuals and it's in virtual reality, like that's one thing. If you mean they're like kind of all like Oculus, let's see, now I have to look this up. Oh, I see. No, well, okay, so you basically want it to be a game. It's not easy. That takes a whole lot of work. You'd have to basically engage a company that like that's what they do, is create virtual reality games and then take it from there. That said, if you can find a gaming company that would be interested in it, rock on, man, do it. It sounds like fun. Really interesting question. Very cool. Thank you.
We haven't had that one.
Yeah, we've never had that one before. So that's pretty fun. Also, don't forget, for anybody if you've submitted any stories to us, I know that we've had the long form for Running Wild's been closed. We're probably going to reopen that. I'm going to say we'll probably reopen it in September or December of this year. But the Rise full length has been open. We're actually going to have our next, if anybody's been waiting for us to get back to them on a full length work, we're going to go back to it. I want to say our next session is going to be in late August, early September. And so at that time, we'll review all the submissions that we have for Rise, and we'll respond to everybody who's sent us stuff in. Now, I say this, and I'm going to ask a huge favor of you guys. Almost every single time we've had an acquisition session, someone has heard us, let folks know that we were about to have an acquisition session and decided that the night before was an appropriate time to submit a full-length work. Please don't do that. There's no freaking way we're going to have a chance to review an entire piece in less than 24 hours before all of us have a chance, all of us sit down. Because remember, we're looking over everything that we're getting that's a full-length work, right? So although I appreciate your enthusiasm and your eagerness, please be mindful and minimally, if send it to us maybe the beginning of August, like the first week of August, so we all have a chance to go over it. Because again, remember our process is it's the 4 acquisition editors. So myself, Cody, Peter, and Ben. Our head of marketing, Lara, our head of more like licensing activities, Joelle, and we all basically sit down and go through all the submissions and talk about why we think it would be good, or maybe how it might need revision, or is this a good work for us, right? Like, does it make sense? Does it fit within our mission, vision, and goals, right? And then we take it from there. So if you send us something literally the night before, the likelihood that all of us are going to have a chance to look at it is probably pretty low. So definitely, please at least give us a week if you can to review the work before expecting us to submit it. Because we want to, right? I mean, duh, that's why we're all here. But it makes it a little bit challenging if you do send it the night before. So Jude says, cool, appreciate the encouragement regarding the virtual reality episode. Yeah, man, absolutely play. I think, have a blast, enjoy yourself. See what you can make become real. I've seen a few people who've created their characters usually using interactive methods. And then they basically find voice actors to act out those characters. I mean, in theory, you could do that yourself, right? You just need to find the right tools in order to do it, and find this is part of the right tools, find those things that could actually edit the videos so that it's more engaging, and potentially interactive. So, have a blast. Absolutely have a blast. Awesome. So Ben, Peter, Amy, any topics you guys want to bring up or talk about? That would be a flaming hot no. Actually, I was at a writer's coffee house this past weekend, and one of the hot topics was about AI and how AI is going to be used or anticipated to be used in storytelling. So I was curious what your thoughts were about it.
What that look on your face means, Peter.
Well, a bunch of questions run through my mind. I mean, even if because I've heard that some AI is written pretty well, it's generally recognizable as being written by a robot, not a human being. But the first thing that comes to mind is style. I mean, how can they program style into a program or an app or anything like that? That's the first thing that comes to mind. And the next thing is, I mean, building tension. I mean, it doesn't know the craft of writing, that kind of thing, or just what its limits are what the developer gives it. So I don't see it, famous last words, I don't see it taking over the literary world anytime soon, but it's going to cause a little bit of havoc, I think, just because it exists.
What do you think, Amy?
Okay, don't kill me here. I think it's actually going to be useful because if you think about story, all stories have certain patterns that, we all have to have some kind of plot lines that we hit along the way. And different stories have different plot lines that you have to get every single time for it to be that certain genre, right? That being said, I think a computer is great at recognizing patterns. It can help with structure if things are missing. So I think it can be a great tool, but just like Peter said, there's going to be things that the human element adds to a story. There's little touches that we have. We understand tension and dialogue, whereas AI doesn't really understand that. And then also, like humans, we like to play with structure. So even if you get a structure from an AI created story, it's kind of cool to say, okay, well, how can I bend this or tell it a different way that is maybe not as predictable? So I can see some positive signs here. But yeah, I don't think it will ever replace the literary world and all the kind of stories that we tell as human beings. So
Cool. What do you think, Ben?
Well, as a college professor, it's on our minds, and we keep waiting for the assignments to come in from in a voice that we know is not the student's voice. But even writing a business plan. We ran a test the other day to have AI write a business plan, and it did okay. But my first response to authors is why would you give up the craft and that intellectual feel of sitting down and writing and pulling the ideas out of your head in that process? Why would you want to give that up? And then the other thing is, it's been maybe 35 years ago, I saw a volume that was advertised as Bad Hemingway. And this is a volume of Bad Hemingway. I think all the characters were sober and functional, but and it goes back to Peter and Amy's points. It's Hemingway knew his craft, and he knew what good writing was, and he worked on it, and he toiled over it. And if you tell AI, write me a Hemingway story, you're going to get a whole volume of Bad Hemingway. It's just going to fall short, because the craft isn't there. The creative nature isn't there.
I think it might almost become its own niche market for publishers, so it's on the side. It's part of the literary world, part of the genre world, but it's not, interwoven with the authors. And I agree with both Amy and Ben's points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's really neat also is, Ben, you were talking about like the process, and I don't think, like personally, when you write a book, there is something that happens to you as a person, as a writer. And that's really why writers write. We sit down with a blank piece of paper and we put all of this stuff that's inside of us on the paper, and we like move it around. We make it different in some ways, and we take things out and we add things in. And that's all a process that we do as writers, simply because we love to write. We love to tell story. So Ben, I love that, that process that you brought up.
Yeah, I agree with all three of you. I personally see AI being used most effectively in more research purposes, but I actually was just in a meeting around like the industry of metadata today, and we were talking about AI. And, garbage in, garbage out. Like, that's always been true. Like, it reminds me of when Wikipedia first came out and people were freaking out because there were all these Wikipedia pages with bad information because folks were just having a blast, right? They were like, yeah, sure. I'll just make up a page about Santa Claus and pretend there's really was a Santa Claus, and I'll give him a middle name and, have him live in Florida and, whatever, right? And you had, that was before Wikipedia actually had, like people who were doing content control, right? And we're confirming and validating the information that was being provided by these random individuals. And honestly, that's what a lot of these like free AI interfaces are trying to do now too, is they're trying to get people to validate the responses that chat GPT is providing, because, and every single person I know who's used an AI in order to do some kind of research or some kind of development or answer some question has come back and said, man, it's came back with some of the wildest, crazy crap, I've ever seen. And it's because somebody put it in there, right? Like somebody decided that this was going to be real. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't change, right? I mean, I think we all have a responsibility to provide valuable information, right? That's not bullshit. But that also doesn't mean that people aren't going to still do it. They're still going to have a blast. I mean, kind of like, not kind of, but like totally off topic. I mean, it's like, if it's like relying on reviews to decide on whether you're going to buy a story or not, because the number of people who submit like a 1-star review because they're mad that the dog died in the story. Well, that's got nothing to do with whether the story's any good. It just means you're a dog lover and you're mad that a fictional character was killed. Like, give me a break, guy. Or like something ridiculous like that. And those kinds of reviews happen all the time. Same thing with the 5-star review, right? Sometimes they're just like, oh my God, this was so dang funny. And it's because of one line that was said in this entire, novel. Like, okay, well, that doesn't make the whole thing fabulous, but sure, why not? If that's your jam. So, it's taking everything with a grain of salt, and you really can't. There is no soul to it. There's no craft to it. It's just learning from whatever it is that people are teaching it. And, if someone wants to use it as a starting point, fine, whatever. But I highly doubt that it's going to be really effective unless they actually dive into it and make it theirs.
I asked AI to write me a love poem once, and it printed out a heart and an eggplant emoji.
Oh my gosh.
You made that up. No, it didn't.
I made that up. Yeah. I wrote a poem that said basically the same thing. It was a sonnet. It ended that way. What it's worth. Welcome to my world.
Welcome to your world. Jude Shell says, one of my 7 actors has merged with a VR company. So I'll see if she'll collaborate in this idea. Don't know about AI. Need to mull on that one. Teha Venkat says, have you faced the situation where when you were writing, you realized it's similar to the story you have seen or heard somewhere? And at that time, do you move forward or do you stop? Since Ben is already laughing, I'm going to start with him.
It was a short story about a Vietnam veteran who was the next door neighbor of someone who was in his apartment, and he was looking around the apartment, and the ceiling fan was going very much like Apocalypse Now, and the ceiling fan in the hotel room. He had pictures of a Vietnamese woman, and other things that I knew were had been used in movies and visuals that readers would pick up on. But then the end of it was this guy wasn't a Vietnam veteran at all. He was just using those images to decorate his apartment. And, but that's the way I got out of it, because it started off, I said, I'm really ripping off some scenes that I need to clean up and say, why am I using these? So that's when I stopped and said, well, let me make it work for the story and make it have that twist, because I knew anybody who read it would pick up on those nuances and the scenes. And wait a minute, it was actually workshopped once, and one of the attendees said, "Isn't this all from movies?" I said, yes, it is. And so that's when I decided to end it in such a way that you're right, it was from movies, and this guy is too young to be in Vietnam. So to stop and turn it around that way. So I guess the answer to Hal's question, it's once you see it and recognize it, you've either got to stop or make it work for you in another way.
How about you, Amy?
Yeah, I agree. And it's weird because I find myself inspired by a lot of like characters and like little touches in novels. And I have like a notebook and I'll write down like things that I think are really cool from other works. And sometimes I'll just sit and say, okay, what if this character was in this other situation or something like that? So, sometimes I borrow ideas, but then try to put a different spin on them. I don't know if I've ever had like the exact same thing kind of show up, but if I notice similarities, I really do try to say, okay, well, how can I tell this in a new kind of way? I usually don't abandon it. I kind of challenge myself to find something new to say in that situation. Yeah.
What do you think, Peter?
I think it depends on how far you are into the story. I agree with Amy and Ben. It's just, if you recognize a pattern in your story or a theme that is recognizable, yes, you want to back up, fix it, redo it, make it more your own, and see what you can discover, see what you can find in it. Mm-hmm. My biggest problem is I'll read an author's book, and I'll find that I'm writing in that same pattern, that same method, same style. And I literally have to stop, back up, and go back and fix it. When I've been away from the book for a little while. It's just one of those things I just pick up on. But if you recognize it, fix it. Don't abandon it.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. And admittedly, I've never had the situation where I was like, oh my God, I'm writing Apocalypse Now. But I have been in the situation that Peter's describing, where I was just like really engrossed in a novel or, some kind of story. And when I went back to continue writing my own work, I realized that I picked up the voice of the story that I'd been writing in or reading. And for me, it's imperative that I go out of my way to read the previous minimally chapter, if not like 2 or 3 chapters that I had already written before I start writing again. It helps me pick up my voice again. And it also helps me, like I'm the queen of, and Ben and Peter can probably attest to this, in my own writing, I put in like these little hints to other storylines, some of which I will actually leverage within that story, and others I'll wait to use for another, like a follow-up piece. And if I left a hint to something that I intended to use later on, I want to remind myself that it's there, so then I can, keep driving it forward. So although again, I've never found myself rewriting Apocalypse Now, I have found myself writing in the voice of whoever it was that I'm reading in. So.
Apocalypse Now is a great example, because it was Heart of Darkness with straight from the novel, so it was already ripped off.
Well, that's true.
So it's and I'm reminded of Jacob Dylan of the Wallflowers, in an interview, he said he was extremely careful about using anything that his dad Bob Dylan had ever written or used, even the Wallflowers. It's from a song, so he was hesitant with the Wallflowers, and he wanted to stay away from the images and write his own stuff. But you grew up in Bob Dylan's house, you're going to be influenced by what you hear and see and talk about. And so it's the same but different, or different but the same. And because we're all going to get ideas from that's why we hang out with other people, other creative people, to get those ideas and shamelessly steal them and make them your own. And then I stole this from you. That's another story about Joan Baez found a song that Bob Dylan had written. Love is a 4-letter word. And he heard her sing it once and said, "That's a great song. Who wrote that?" And she said, "You did, you dope." And he said, "Oh, that's pretty good." So she stole it from him, and he actually wrote it and didn't know it. But again, it's a community of creatives that's what we're a community for.
Yeah, it's true. Jude says, "Isn't AI used for problem solving in business anymore? In business, like suggesting technologies that can improve a task, Siri, for example." I think it's being played with. From what I'm hearing, it is getting played with a lot. I do know it is a big debate right now in Hollywood with TV writers, and I know for a fact there were some shows that they wanted to see if they could kind of get around using live writers and just going right to AI. And they found that the back to everyone else's point, the scripts were really soulless. They just, because what they did is they fed the AI all the previous scripts and then said, this is the core storyline, give me a script for it. And so the AI just kind of regurgitates out something, again, it's all based on what you put in it, but it has no creativity, it has no soul, it has no way of analyzing it. And in theory, at some point, or I'm sure at some point, AI is going to get much better at predictive analytics. And I honestly look forward to that. But again, that's another garbage in, garbage out, and whoever's actually using it for that kind of predictive analytics, hopefully is someone who's got some sense and, leveraging it in a way that for positive means. So Jude Shell says, Quentin Tarantino is the king of merging appropriation with originality. Okay. I haven't heard anybody mention Quentin Tarantino in forever. But yeah. But I mean, honestly, I think Ben, Amy, and Peter all touched on this really well. I mean, so much of it, I think of your brain as a computer, right? Like whatever it is that we are ingesting, that we are reading, that we're hearing, that we're experiencing, this is all influencing what it is that we come back with. Whether it be story, it influences how we respond to things. So, none of us are truly original, right? We're all influenced by whatever it is that's around us.
And it's something I know Lisa does is look at history to get ideas. And history is written without human experience. So it's a great place to look back at events and then project human experience onto those events and say, what would a human really be doing? What would the witnesses be seeing and feeling? And it's a great place to get ideas from, not just historic novels, but just the human experience that happened when you're reading about those events. Because all the human experience is left out of history. And there's so much richness and true episodes that you can, again, shamelessly steal from.
Oh yeah, and don't forget, most of history is it's second, third, fourth, fifth person removed, right? Because it started off as more like tales being told around a fire that eventually was then integrated into that culture. And then whenever they actually got to the point of writing stuff down, they actually wrote it down. Well, by then it was so separated from those who actually experienced it or who were a part of it. It's highly unlikely that it's accurate. I'm just putting that out there. Very highly unlikely that it's accurate. Even actually our history now, or not history now, but anything that's been recorded since, newspapers, because especially I'd say in the last 20, 30 years, although originally, stories and history and like biography and all was intended to be told without an emotional separation, to Ben's point, right? It was intended to be like this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, like, and these were the cause and effects. But in order to sell newspapers, in order to sell books, they all have now come. I can't say all, but a good portion of them have a major emotional slant in it, because they want to get you to go and pick it up. They want to get you to buy it. And there's a perception that, if it's something that has some kind of like an emotional engagement, whether it's accurate or not, then it's going to sell. So, Teja says, who are your favorite directors? I'll start with Amy, just because I haven't started with Amy yet.
I would have to say Jordan Peele is my favorite director. I mean, anything he does, I think it's so, we're talking about originality. It comes from a place that's so honest, that it's horrific sometimes. And it's so honest that it's uncomfortable to watch. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just really enjoy his storytelling in particular. I just watched actually Nope again. It's like on Amazon Prime. And I remember watching it in theaters and just like almost having no reaction because I had no idea what I just watched afterwards. But I've watched it several times since, and it's really about film. It's a film about film. And I am sort of speechless at his talent and the way he tells story and the way it's also entertaining, even if it is scary and all those other things. You just want him to make another film and watch him some more. So yeah, definitely Jordan Peele.
Cool. Peter, what do you think?
To be totally honest, I haven't followed directors and their careers to actually have a favorite director. Like George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, they both spin great tales and put it on film really nicely. But as for headier films, I gotta sit this one out. Kick it to Ben.
I'm going to go way back because I'm 120 years old.
Obviously.
And you go with John Huston and Orson Welles and Elia Kazan, and kind of contemporaries of the stories they told, and it may be because they were using books and taking like Treasure Sierra Madre was John Huston's film. And he took a line right out of the book that everybody thinks is Blazing Saddles or Major Payne, but it's badges. We don't need no stinking badges. And it came right out of the book by B. Traven. And that was just a nice touch to like a nod to the writer. So we're gonna keep it pure and read to the book well. But I am 120 years old, so none of you remember those.
Clearly. Yeah.
I know Elia Kazan.
He liked to tilt the camera a lot and make it like Batman scene, but just an interesting. He worked with Steinbeck a lot.
I so rarely get to the theater I usually binge watch. Like I end up, I'll just take a Sunday and I'll see like 2 matinees and you know, if I have time, you know, I might watch an evening show. I'm also a huge Jordan Peele fan. I just love his work. I'm trying to think if there's anything more recently that has come out. Now I have to look. Let's see. I really want to see The Little Mermaid, which I know that sounds stupid, but oh well. There hasn't really been a lot that I was just like absolutely dying to see in the last, well, recently, I guess you could, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, all your classics, although Everything Everywhere All at Once was pretty fabulous, and that was co-directed. And what's interesting is the directors of that, they actually started off as directing MTV music videos, believe it or not. And that's how they actually met and started working together. And they started bouncing around ideas for films and came up with the idea for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And they've been playing with the script for years and years and years. And I'm a member of actually the Writers Guild of America. So I get invited to things like interviews with these guys when they get nominated for different awards. And it was actually hilarious because normally they, you know, the interviewers, the facilitators ask the writers and directors questions. And instead what they were doing is they kept quoting from the script and just saying, oh no, I know I'm supposed to be asking you a question, but damn, this was such a great line. Like how did it, like, so they weren't really like asking anything. It was more like, you know, they were just being like little fanboys. It was pretty hilarious. So, but yeah, that was pretty phenomenal. I'm actually looking forward to see what else they come up with in a movie form. So yeah. Tejas says you should definitely watch Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. You know, I have heard that. I have so many friends who've seen it and said they were not looking forward to it. They didn't really care. And then when they actually saw it, they were like, oh my God, this is actually really good. So
We're going Sunday, so I can let you know if it's good or not.
Okay. I'm totally down. If I have a chance to, I'm gonna try and check it out. It won't be for, well, that's my other challenge is typically the films that I want to see aren't in theaters long enough for me to see it. Like it's in and out so fast, but hopefully I'll actually, you know, have a chance to check it out. But anyway, wow, guys, we only have like almost 15 minutes left. Time just flies when we're talking, which is kind of fabulous. Do you guys have, I mean, any questions for each other or me or anything?
Amy, we haven't seen you for a while. What are you working on?
I am finishing up edits on a book that's about to go into production about a witch that moves into a haunted house. So it's kind of cool. She discovers things about herself as well as the house. And then I have been working on my draft that it had really kicked my butt. Talking about the process, it really pushed me to think outside of just the story that I was telling. So I'm finishing the draft of that and we'll send it to my editor soon. So yeah, looking forward to have that go on to the next step.
And I'm her editor, so that's
Yes.
my fault.
No, it's mine. It was just so, like, it's so funny. She just asked me like 2 questions and I'm like, I'm going to have to go through and make all these changes. And she's like, hey, I support you, whatever you think you need to do for the story. And so she's been very, very patient while I go through and make all the changes.
It's all about making it an absolutely phenomenal story, you know, making it the story that you intended it to be. So totally. Now, folks watching, don't forget, we're here for you guys on Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time. If you're watching this and it is not Thursday between those hours, it's not a big deal. You can still put your questions. Go ahead, post them in the comments section. I'm monitoring it throughout the week, so I'll be more than happy to check it out. And we typically will bring those questions forward in the beginning of the subsequent session, so that you just to be sure that you get your questions answered. And again, don't be shy. Like, feel free to ask us anything. We've had, I actually just submitted a bunch of our books for BookBub. I've submitted them for like Kindle awards. They're going to be submitted in July. I'm going to send a bunch of our books that came out in 2022 for the Penn Faulkner Award. If there are stories that you've read of ours and you were like, oh my God, this was fabulous, why don't I find it here? Tell me, right? Because I'll then go and I'll work with our distributor to get it in those places that you want to see it. And, we value that. And also, don't forget, please, please, please review our books. When you read one of our stories, when you check out an anthology, when you read a memoir, when you read a fiction book, whatever it is, please go ahead and put in the review, because folks want to know. They want to know what you think about the stories that you read. Actually, which reminds me, this was kind of cool. So when I was preparing to submit a bunch of our stories for Kindle Awards, so they have a thing where you can do featured stories with Kindle, but it has to have minimally a 3.5, I think, out of 5 average review. So I thought, okay, fine, right? I'll go on Amazon. I'll look through it and see, right? All of our stories except one that we have published in the last, I want to say 4 years, something like that, had over 4 out of 5 star review on Amazon. And the one that had less than a 4 out of 5 star review, it was like a 3.8 average review. And it was also our biggest seller on Kindle. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. So thank you to everybody who gave us those phenomenal reviews. Like, seriously, greatly appreciated. And to all of you who've read some of our stuff and you were like, oh my God, I love it, but you didn't review it, please, again, go review it on Goodreads, on Amazon, on whatever, Barnes & Noble, on Target, and wherever you find the story, please review it, because people definitely look for it. It definitely encourages folks to pick it up, unless, of course, you killed a dog, but then it's a whole nother thing. So. Awesome. Well, we've only got 12 minutes left, guys. That's like nothing. What do you guys, Ben, Peter, Amy, what do you have coming up that you're like really looking forward to this summer?
You ask these questions, I go, oh my God, my life is so boring.
All right, I'll start with Ben.
It's always a good chance to write and set in Puerto Vallarta, and if yeah, look that up. That's where I go on vacation, Puerto Vallarta. A lot of ideas come in this time of year, so it's a matter of getting up early, Peter. And I don't mean your early is 10:30, I know, but getting up early and using that time to write it down. And so it's just that's my little boring life in the backyard.
Port's a backyard. That worked though.
Makes it sound better.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Amy, what are you up to this summer?
I mean, I know the kids are going to keep me busy. They have a few camps they're going to, and I think we might go to Six Flags, go ride some roller coasters, but it's going to be so hot. I don't know. But I think that's it, just spending time with family and then trying to write as much as possible and edit a few books along the way. So yeah, just excited for all the things to come.
Awesome. How about you, Peter? I'm so boring. Why do you ask these questions, right?
Well, I've been hoping to buy a new motorcycle for a while now. So maybe this summer I can finally pull the trigger, get the bike that I want, a new model. The one I'm riding right now is a 2001 model. Runs great. She'll do 80 all day, every day, but she's a little bit old. It's a little bit creaky. So, but that's just some traveling. I got some big travel plans in the fall, actually. Going to Colorado in September and down to Southwest Florida in November. It's a big birthday coming up. So, like Amy said, and Ben, it's just like hanging around at home, visiting family, just being a person and enjoying life.
Nice. Yeah, and guys, like as I already mentioned, come check me out at the California Crime Writers Conference, the Consult Fest that's associated with it on Sunday of this week. And check out StokerCon. I'll be there. And then this summer, I mean, I'm editing a couple of pieces. I'm going to be writing a nonfiction book about basically how to build your career, and which includes like being a mentor and being a mentee, right? And really learning from those who've kind of been there, done that. And working. And I was supposed to hit up Philadelphia at the end of June, and then but unfortunately those plans got canceled. But I actually will be in Philadelphia in October of this year for something that I'll talk about in depth a bit later. But it's a really exciting venture that we have that's in the planning stages right now. And just to everyone else's point, I mean, it's really just hanging out and having fun and figuring out, cool local things to do that, we can do on the fly and just really, have a good time. So pretty boring. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll be exciting, but that day is not today. And also, and anybody watching, don't forget, all of us, if you want us to come and talk to your writers group or your conference or your workshop, or you want us to teach a class on crafts of some sort, we're all available. Because, I mean, we've all been doing this a little bit. So, and some people on this call have like some best of the years under their belt who remain nameless. So, definitely leverage the knowledge that's on this here weekly catch up, because it's you don't just have to wait until the weekly live session. You can actually have us come out and talk to your group. And also don't forget, it doesn't have to be about, like the craft of writing. It could also be like, what's our favorite books? It could be, what's influenced us, who are our favorite authors, whatever it is that you think might be valuable. And also don't forget, all of us are also writers as well. So, we're looking at things from both an editing, publishing and like business perspective, as well as the creative arts authorial perspective. So you just let us know what it is that you want us to talk about and in what capacity, and we'll come and do it, because we're all super nerdy. We'll all prep for it and hopefully bring forward answers that your folks will find valuable. So, plus Ben does this all the time. His day job is as a teacher, so he can't get away from it.
I love podium time. I live for podium time.
He lives for podium time. And if you want to see what's the latest and greatest right now with Running Wild and Rise, putting in the chat is our new website, runningwildpublishing.com. And then if you want to find out more about like things that I'm doing or have done, or you want to connect with me offline, you can also just look up my website, lisadkastner.com. Awesome. Well, we only have 5 minutes left, guys. So again, if you're watching, don't forget, go ahead, pop your questions into the comments section of whatever venue, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we will always just, read, well, unless it's something perverted, we'll read it. And then each of us will take an opportunity to respond to that question. Cool.
So, well, what I'm finding with writing in the morning is it's just a completely different experience. It's just my mind is sharper. I know what's going on. The words fit together. The words move around for me on the page in my mind. It's really quite interesting. It's just the getting out of bed part that I don't like.
Now,
But
do you guys set aside time every day to write? Like, what's your own personal writing schedule? I know, Peter, you just touched on it, but
yeah, right at night. Well, after practice guitar, then I come in here, and if I'm not too tired, I'll edit. But normally, I just spend the next several hours just writing, pounding out words, and, fixing the story or polishing it, whatever.
Cool. How about you, Amy? What's your?
I cannot write in the morning. I don't know. My brain and the words in my hand, I can't do it. I don't know. So usually I write with a group that meets virtually every day, from like 10 to no, it's like 11:30 to 1, but you can pop in and out, whenever you need, and it's just like writers sitting with like their Zoom, like they're logged in, and so you have kind of support there. So if I can, I'll log in and write with them, and then afternoon, evening time, I'll take whatever I'm editing and kind of read through it, give some comments. But I try to plan in time not to write so that I'm thinking about things and enjoying being present. And there's so much about life that kind of inspires you as well. So yeah, I don't know. There's a good balance, I think.
Cool. How about you, Ben?
I find it very rewarding to have a poem written by 3:30 in the morning. and so that's what I shoot for. Then once I get the first one written, there's usually at least 3, maybe 4 others to follow. And so it's usually average about 8 poems a day. And
wow.
And, so in a month, that's what, 240 poems, and maybe 2 of them are good. So I'm calling that victory. But it's just an overall for this setting, and Jude mentioned it, and Margaret gave me an idea to keep my title simple last week. It's just a writing community of creatives. So that anywhere you can find it, and like Lisa said, let us know. We'll be there. Because we may talk, but we'll learn something too.
Totally, absolutely. And I feel like a total slacker because I just basically, I set goal. I'm more of a goal setter, so I'll set a goal and then I'll create a roadmap to get to that goal. So I don't have a set time to write for myself. on a regular basis. It is definitely more based on whatever that goal is. But I usually edit after my day job for about an hour or two or longer. And then because it's like switching gears, I guess you could say. So anyway, with that, we're actually, believe it or not, over time, which is crazy. Thank you everybody for joining us yet again. Margaret, CJ, Jude, Teha, you guys are all absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for asking such great questions. And with that, we look forward to seeing you guys next week. So have a great one.
Have a good week.